The stars were dying. Not the real stars, but the lights that showed human ships in space. Every day, Admiral Kong Teho watched more lights go dark on his control screen. Each light was a ship. Each ship had people inside. Good people who were fighting to save their families. Te-Ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Last Hope. The name was not a joke. It really was their last hope. Through the big window, he could see New Sol Station burning. The enemy was winning again. "Sir, we lost contact with Battle Group 7, said Commander Lim Wubin. He was young, maybe 25 years old. Too young to see so much death. That's 12 more ships gone. Teho closed his eyes. 12 ships meant 3,000 people. 3,000 mothers, fathers, children. All dead because the aliens were stronger than humans. The aliens called themselves the Viridian Empire. They had 7 different alien races working together. Their ships were huge. Their weapons could cut through human armor like a knife through paper. They had been winning for 22 years now. How many ships do we have left? Teho asked. Wubin looked at his screen. His face was sad. 847 ships. Sir, most of them are damaged. 800 ships. The humans started this war with 50,000 ships. Now they had less than 900. The enemy had more than 50,000 ships. The math was simple. Humans were going to lose. Admiral, said a voice behind him. Teho turned around. It was Captain Park Hye-jin. She had just come back from a spy mission. Her ship, the Whisper, was the fastest human ship left. She could hide from enemy ships better than anyone. What did you find, Hye-jin? Teho asked. Park Hye-jin's face was white. She looked scared. Teho had never seen her scared before. Sir, I have bad news. Very bad news. She put a small device on the table. A hologram appeared. It showed Earth, beautiful, blue Earth. But around Earth were thousands of enemy ships. More ships than Teho had ever seen. They are going to attack Earth in 6 months, Hye-jin said. Maybe less. They have 200,000 ships getting ready. Earth only has 10,000 ships to protect it. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth was humanity's home. If Earth died, humanity died. 10,000 ships could not stop 200,000 ships. There's more, Hye-jin said. She touched the device again. The hologram changed. Now it showed other human worlds. They are attacking all our worlds at the same time. Mars, Europa, New Tokyo, Harmony Station, all of them. Teho felt sick. The enemy was not just trying to win the war. They were trying to kill every human in the galaxy. Sir, said Dr. Yoon Dozam. She was the smartest person on the ship. She studied alien technology. I need to tell you something important. Dr. Yoon was small and quiet. She usually stayed in her lab. If she came to the bridge, it was important. What is it? Dr. Teho asked. I have been studying the enemy ships we captured, she said. Their technology is much better than ours. But I found something strange. Their ships are alive. Alive? Wubin asked. Yes, the enemy ships are like giant animals. They can heal themselves. They can grow new weapons. They can think for themselves. That's why they are so hard to kill. Teho felt his heart sink. How could humans fight ships that were alive? How could they fight ships that could heal themselves? But there is something else, Dr. Yoon said. Yesterday, Captain Park found something interesting. Hye-jin nodded. We were looking through old battle sites, places where big battles happened long ago. We found ships that were not human or Viridian. What kind of ships? Teho asked. Very old ships. Maybe millions of years old. The computers call them architect ships. They are all dead now, empty, but the technology inside them is amazing. Dr. Yoon became excited. Admiral, these ships use technology we have never seen. They can fold space. They can travel through dimensions. Their weapons are powered by something we don't understand. Teho looked at the two women. Are you saying these old ships might help us? Maybe, Dr. Yoon said. But we need time to study them. Time we don't have. Just then, alarms started ringing. The lights on the bridge turned red. Enemy ships coming, shouted the radar officer. 50 ships, moving fast. Teho ran to his command chair. All ships, prepare for battle. Move the station behind the asteroid field. The Last Hope shook as enemy weapons hit it. Through the window, Teho could see enemy ships. They looked like giant sea creatures made of metal and flesh. Their weapons glowed green and purple. Return fire. Teho shouted. Human weapons hit the enemy ships, but the holes closed up quickly. The ships were healing themselves. We can't win this fight, Wubin said. We need to run. No, Teho said. If we run, they will catch the evacuation ships. We fight here. The battle was terrible. Human ships exploded one by one. The Last Hope was hit many times. Smoke filled the bridge. People were hurt and bleeding. But then something happened. The enemy ships suddenly stopped fighting. They turned around and left. Why did they leave? Wubin asked. Hye-jin checked her screens. They got what they came for. They were testing us. Learning how we fight. Teho looked around the bridge. Half his people were hurt. Many ships were destroyed. They had won nothing, the enemy had learned everything. Admiral Dr. Yoon said quietly, we have a choice to make. We can use our ships to save as many people as possible. Take them far away from here. Find a safe place to hide, or Taeho asked. Or we use everything we have to study those architects' ships. Try to understand their technology. It's very dangerous. We might lose everything. But if it works, we might have a chance to fight back. Taeho finished. He looked out the window at the burning station. So many people dead. So many families broken. The enemy thought humans were weak. They thought humans would give up. But they were wrong. Humans never gave up. Not when their families were in danger. Dr. Taeho said, how long do you need to study these architect ships? 3 months, maybe 4. We don't have that much time, I know, sir. But if we can understand even part of their technology, we might save humanity. Taeho looked at his officers. Young Woobin, who had lost his parents in the first battle. Captain Haijin, who had saved thousands of people with her brave missions. Dr. Yoon, who worked day and night to find ways to help her people. They were all looking at him, waiting for his decision. Run away and live a little longer. Or fight and probably die. Taeho made his choice. Send a message to all ships. He said, tell them we are not running away. Tell them we are going to study these old ships. Tell them we are going to find a way to fight back. Sir Woobin said, what if it doesn't work? Taeho smiled for the first time in months. Then we die fighting. Like humans always do. The stars were still dying. But maybe, just maybe, they would burn bright again. The hidden shipyard was deep inside the purple nebula. No one could see it from the outside. The gas clouds were too thick. It was the perfect place to hide and work. Admiral Kong Taeho floated in zero gravity, watching hundreds of people work. On the ancient ships, the architect ships were beautiful but strange. They looked like they were grown, not built. Their metal was smooth like skin. Their engines hummed like a heartbeat. Admiral, you need to see this, called Engineer Kim Soo-ho. He was the best engineer in the human fleet. If anyone could understand alien technology, it was him. Tae-ho pushed off a wall and floated over to Kim. The engineer was inside one of the architect ships. His hands were covered in some kind of blue liquid that glowed. What is that? Taeho asked. I don't know, Kim said, but when I touch it, the ship responds. Watch this. Kim put his hand on a smooth panel. The whole ship began to glow. Lights came on everywhere. The walls became transparent. They could see space outside. It's alive, Kim whispered. The ship is alive, but it's different from the enemy ships. This one wants to help us. Dr. Yoon Dasam floated over to them. She had been working for 3 weeks without sleep. Her eyes were red and tired, but she was excited. Suho is right, she said. These ships are alive, but they work differently than the Viridian ships. The enemy ships think for themselves. These architect ships want to work with us. What do you mean? Taeho asked. The ship needs a pilot, Dr. Yoon explained. But not just any pilot. It needs someone who cares about other people. Someone who will fight to protect others. The ship can feel what the pilot feels. Just then, alarms started ringing. Enemy ships, shouted a voice over the radio. 3 Viridian scouts found us. Taeho's heart sank. If the enemy knew where they were, everything was over. The Viridians would bring their whole fleet here. How long until they get here? Taeho asked. 20 minutes, came the reply. We need to run, said Kim. The architect ships aren't ready yet. But then a new voice spoke up. Let me try. Everyone turned around. It was Captain Cho Jinwoo. He was a test pilot. He had flown every kind of human ship ever made. He was brave, maybe too brave. Jinwoo, these ships are not tested yet, Dr. Yoon said. They could explode. They could kill you. If we don't fight, everyone dies anyway. Jinwoo said. He was already putting on a pilot suit. How do I fly it? We don't know, Kim said. Just ... Sit in the pilot seat. Touch the controls. Think about protecting everyone here. Jinwoo climbed into the architect ship. It was called the Phoenix Rising. As soon as he sat down, the ship began to change. The walls glowed brighter. The engines made a different sound, like singing. Jinwoo, can you hear me? Taeho asked over the radio. Yes, sir, but something strange is happening. I can feel the ship's thoughts. It's not afraid. It wants to fight. Through the window, they could see the Phoenix Rising leave the shipyard. It moved differently than human ships. It flowed through space like water. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. Enemy ships approaching, said the radar officer. 3 Viridian scouts. They're big ones on the screens. Everyone could see the enemy ships. They looked like giant sea monsters made of metal and flesh. Their weapons were already charging up. The Phoenix Rising flew toward them. It was much smaller than the enemy ships. It looked like a tiny bird flying at 3 dragons. Jinwoo, be careful, Taeho said. Those ships can heal themselves. Our weapons can't hurt them much. I know, sir, but I think this ship is different. The enemy ships fired first. Green beams of energy shot toward the Phoenix Rising, but something impossible happened. The beams went right through the ship. The Phoenix Rising had turned into a ghost. How did he do that? Kim asked. I don't know. Dr. Yoon said, the ship is phasing in and out of normal space. The Phoenix Rising flew through the enemy attacks. Then it became solid again. Its weapons fired. But these were not normal weapons. They were made of pure energy. They changed shape as they flew. When they hit the enemy ships, they didn't just make holes. They made the enemy ships forget how to heal. Impossible, whispered someone. The first enemy ship exploded, then the second. The third enemy ship tried to run away, but the Phoenix Rising was too fast. It caught the enemy ship and destroyed it too. Jinwoo, come back. Taeho said, you did it. You won. The Phoenix Rising returned to the shipyard. Jinwoo climbed out of the pilot's seat. His face was white, but he was smiling. Sir, this ship is amazing, he said. It's like it knows what I'm thinking. When I wanted to protect everyone, it became stronger. When I was afraid for my friends, it became faster. Dr. Yoon was taking notes as fast as she could. The ship responds to emotions, strong emotions, especially the desire to protect others. Can we make more ships like this? Taeho asked. We're already trying, Kim said, but we need more time. And we need special pilots. People who care more about others than themselves. Over the next month, the humans worked harder than ever before. They found 12 architect ships that could be repaired. They also learned how to mix architect technology with human ships. LT Commander SCO Mina was in charge of finding information about the enemy. She was very good at her job. She had spies everywhere. Admiral, she said one day, I found something important. The architects didn't die. They changed. What do you mean? Taeho asked. They became something beyond physical bodies. They left their ships as a test. Only species that truly care about protecting others can use the technology. A test, yes sir. The architects faced an enemy worse than the Viridians. They won, but they learned something important. Only species that fight for others, not just themselves, can truly win. This made Taeho think humans were good at fighting for their families, for their friends, for people they had never met. Maybe that was why the architect ships worked for them. There's more, Mina said. The architect technology gets stronger. When the pilot really believes in what they're fighting for, the more they care about protecting others, the more powerful the ship becomes. That's why Jinwoo won. Dr. Yoon said. He wasn't just fighting to destroy the enemy. He was fighting to save everyone in the shipyard. They tested this idea. They gave architect ships to different pilots. The pilots who only wanted to win were not very good. But the pilots who wanted to save people were amazing. Their ships could do impossible things. Captain Park Hyejin was one of the best. Her ship, the Whisper, was now half human and half. She could hide in normal space and attack from other dimensions. The enemy doesn't understand, she said after a successful mission. They think we're just using new weapons. They don't know that our ships are powered by how much we care about each other. Soon, they had 12 hybrid ships ready. Admiral Taeho looked at his small fleet, 12 ships against the Viridian Empire. It still seemed impossible. But then he remembered something. Humans had always been the underdogs. They had always been the ones who weren't supposed to win, and they had always found a way. All pilots, listen to me, he said over the radio. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who ever lived, for every child who wants to grow up, for every family that wants to stay. Together, we're fighting for the future. Captain Cho Jinwoo added, and we're fighting for each other, said Captain Park Hyejin. The architect ships began to glow. All 12 of them. They were responding to the emotions of their pilots. The desire to protect. The refusal to give up. The love for their people. Admiral, said Dr. Yoon, the ships are ready. But there's something else. The technology is still learning. It's getting stronger every day. I think it's preparing for something big. What kind of something? Taeho asked. I don't know. But I think the architects left us more than just ships. I think they left us a way to save not just humanity, but the whole galaxy. Taeho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. Billions of people who needed help. The Viridian Empire thought they had already won. But they had never fought humans with architect ships. They had never fought people who cared more about others than themselves. They had never fought the species that refused to give up. All ships, prepare for battle. Taeho said, it's time to show the galaxy what humans can do. The 12 ships left the nebula together. They were small, but they carried something the enemy didn't have. They carried hope. They carried love. They carried the unbreakable spirit of humanity. The real war was about to begin. The Kepler Nebula was where everything changed. Admiral Kang Taeho stood on the bridge of the Last Hope, watching his 12 hybrid ships get ready for battle. Across from them were 200 Viridian ships. The biggest fleet the enemy had ever sent to fight humans. This is crazy, said Commander Lim Woo-bin. 12 ships against 200. We should wait for more help. There is no more help, Taeho said. These 12 ships are all we have. But they are special ships, and they have special pilots. Captain Cho Jin-woo's voice came over the radio from the Phoenix Rising. Admiral, my ship is ready. It's singing. To me, it wants to fight. All hybrid ships, report status, Taeho said. One by one, the pilots called in. Captain Park Hyjin in the Whisper, Captain Nam Soyoung in the Thunderstrike, Captain Lee Jun-ho in the Stardancer. All 12 ships. We're ready. Enemy fleet is moving, said the radar officer. They're coming fast. On the screen, Taeho could see the Viridian ships. They looked like giant sea monsters swimming through space. Their weapons were glowing. They were hungry for human blood. All ships, attack pattern Delta, Taeho ordered. Remember, you're not just fighting for yourselves, you're fighting for Earth, for all the human colonies. For everyone who can't fight. Yes, sir, came 12 voices at once. The hybrid ships moved forward. They didn't fly like normal ships. They danced through space. They phased in and out of reality. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. The Viridian ships fired first. Green and purple beams filled space. Enough firepower to destroy a planet. But the hybrid ships were not there when the beams arrived. They had jumped into other dimensions. Where did they go? Asked a Viridian commander. Then the hybrid ships appeared behind the enemy fleet. Their weapons were not normal weapons. They were made of pure will and determination. When they fired, they didn't just damage ships. They damaged the enemy's ability to heal. The first Viridian ship exploded. Then another. Then 10 more. Impossible, screamed the Viridian admiral. Human ships cannot do this. But they were doing it. Captain Jinwoo's Phoenix Rising flew through 3 enemy ships like they were made of paper. Captain Hyjin's Whisper appeared and disappeared so fast that enemy weapons couldn't track her. My ship is getting stronger, Jinwoo said over the radio. The more I think about protecting people, the more powerful it becomes. The other pilots felt it too. Their ships were feeding on their emotions, their love for humanity, their refusal to let innocent people die. The architect technology was turning human feelings into weapons. In 30 minutes, it was over. 200 Viridian ships were destroyed. All 12 human ships survived without a scratch. Admiral, said Wubin, we did it. We actually won. But Taeho knew this was just the beginning. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. On human colonies that the Viridians had captured, people began to hope again. Admiral Baesu had been a prisoner on New Busan for 5 years. When she heard about the battle, she started planning. The humans have new ships, she told the other prisoners. Ships that can beat the Viridians. It's time to fight back. Baesu Jin organized uprisings on 12 different worlds. When the hybrid ships arrived to help, the Viridians found themselves fighting on many fronts at once. Captain Oh Dong-hyun commanded the biggest hybrid ship, the Indomitable Spirit. It was the size of a space station, but it could phase through dimensions like the smaller ships. Admiral Bae, this is Captain Oh, he said over the radio. We're here to help. About time, Baesu Jin said. She was leading a group of freed prisoners in an attack on the enemy base. There are too many enemy ships. We need your help. The Indomitable Spirit appeared in the sky over New Busan. The Viridian ships attacking the planet looked tiny next to it, but size wasn't what made it dangerous. It was the crew inside. 3,000 humans who all wanted the same thing, to free their people. The ship's weapons were powered by the combined will of everyone aboard. When they fired, entire enemy fleets disappeared. Not destroyed, disappeared. Erased from space. In time, Dr. Kwon Daram was the scientist who figured out how to do that. She worked with Dr. Yoon Dasam to understand the deepest secrets of architect technology. The quantum fold drives can do more than move through space. She explained to Admiral Taeho. They can move through time. We can make weapons that erase enemies from multiple timelines at once. Is that safe? Taeho asked. Probably not, Dr. Kwon said with a smile. But the Viridians are planning to destroy Earth in 2 months. We need every advantage we can get. The new weapons were called probability cannons. They didn't just destroy enemy ships. They made it so the enemy ships had never existed in the first place. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. But the Viridians were not stupid. They had been watching the human victories. They knew they were losing, so they decided to use their ultimate weapon. The Worldburner fleet was the most terrible thing in the galaxy. 50 massive bioships that could eat entire planets. They had been sleeping in the dark space between galaxies. Now the Viridians woke them up. Admiral said LT, Commander Sao Minna, from her spy ship. I have very bad news. The enemy is bringing the Worldburners to Earth. Taeho felt his blood turn cold. How many? 50 ships. Each one is the size of a moon. They eat planets, sir. They literally eat them. How long do we have? 1 week, maybe less. Taeho looked at his fleet. They had won many battles. They had freed many worlds. But 50 Worldburners was different. These were not normal enemy ships. These were living nightmares. All ships, emergency recall. He ordered. Everyone returned to Earth immediately. The hybrid ships gathered around Earth. There were 50 of them now. More had been built using captured architect technology, but 50 hybrid ships against 50 world burners was still a fair fight, and the world burners had thousands of normal Viridian ships with them. Captain O's indomitable spirit led the defense. It was positioned between Earth and the approaching enemy fleet. On Earth below, 10,000 human ships waited. They were old-style ships with normal weapons. They would not last long against world burners. "This is it," Tejo said to his officers. "If we lose here, humanity dies. Everything we fought for is gone." "Then we don't lose," said Captain Jinwoo. "Simple as that." The world burner fleet arrived like a nightmare made real. Each ship was huge beyond imagination. They had mouths that could swallow cities. Their skin was made of living metal that could heal any damage. "All ships, attack," Tejo ordered. The hybrid ships charged forward. Their weapons fired probability beams that could erase anything. But the world burners were protected by shields from another dimension. The beams could not touch them. "Our weapons aren't working," shouted Captain Haijin. "Keep trying," Tejo replied. "There has to be a way." The world burners began to feed on space itself. Reality started to bend around them. Stars began to dim. The fabric of space-time was tearing. Captain O's indomitable spirit flew directly at the biggest world burner. Its probability cannons fired. Again and again, nothing happened. The monster ship just kept coming. "Sir, we need to retreat," said Wubin. "We can't win this fight." But then something impossible happened. The architect technology activated a hidden protocol. Dr. Yoon's voice came over all ship radios. "Admiral, the ships are doing something new. They're calling for help." "Calling who?" Tejo asked. "I don't know, but something is answering." Space around Earth began to shimmer. Cracks appeared in reality itself. Through the cracks came more ships. Human ships, but not from their timeline. Captain Nam So-young was the first to understand. They're us, from other realities. The architect technology is calling ships from parallel timelines. Hundreds of ships appeared, then thousands. All of them were human. Ships from different timelines. Timelines where Earth never fell. Timelines where humans developed different technology. Timelines where humans made different choices but kept the same brave hearts. "This is Admiral Park Jae-sung from Timeline Game S7, came a voice. "We heard your call for help. Humanity never abandons humanity." "This is Captain Kim Minesio from Timeline Delta 4, came another voice. "We're here to fight." Soon there were 10,000 hybrid ships from different realities all fighting together. The world burners, for the first time in a million years, found themselves outnumbered. All timelines, all realities, attack as one. Tejo shouted. 10,000 ships, powered by human determination, struck at once. The world burners screamed as reality itself turned against them. They had never faced an enemy that could call reinforcements from infinity. The battle raged across 17 dimensions. Ships phased in and out of existence. Weapons that rewrote the laws of physics filled space with impossible colors. And slowly, impossibly, the humans began to win. The first world burner died when its own hunger turned against it. The second was erased from all timelines at once. One by one, the terrible ships fell. "We're doing it," Jinwoo shouted. "We're actually beating them." But this was only the beginning. The real war was just starting. The war was no longer just in one place. It was everywhere at once. Admiral Kong Tae-ho stood in the command center of the Last Hope, watching screens that showed battles in 17 different dimensions. Ships from thousands of different timelines were fighting together as one force. "Admiral," said Fleet Admiral Park Jae-sung from Timeline Gamma 7. His face appeared on the main screen. He looked like Tae-ho, but older and with different scars. "We need to coordinate our attack. The Viridians are calling all their fleets back to defend their homeworlds." "How many ships do we have now?" Tae-ho asked. 50,000 human ships from different realities, said Captain Nam So-young, who was now commanding the timeline-hopping assault fleet. "And more are coming every hour." Commander Lim Wubin looked amazed. "Sir, we went from having 800 ships to having 50,000 ships. The Viridians must be terrified." They were terrified. For the first time in their history, the Viridian Empire was losing. Their bioships, which could heal from any damage, were being destroyed by weapons that attacked across multiple times. Their fleets, which had conquered hundreds of worlds, were running away from human forces. "There's something else," said Dr. Yoon Desma. She had been studying reports from all the different timelines. "The architect technology is doing something new. It's connecting not just our ships, but our minds." "What do you mean?" Tae-ho asked. "Pilots from different timelines are sharing knowledge instantly. When one pilot learns a new technique, all the other pilots know it too. We're becoming a collective intelligence, but we're still individual humans." This was true. Captain Cho, Jinwoo, flying the Phoenix Rising, suddenly knew how to phase through 7 dimensions at once. He had learned it from Captain Lee from Timeline Alpha 9. Captain Park, Haijin, learned new stealth techniques from hundreds of other versions of herself. "It's like we're all connected," Jinwoo said over the radio. "But we're still ourselves, still human." General Han Kuri was in charge of the strategic command. She was coordinating attacks on 7 different fronts simultaneously. Each front was in a different part of the galaxy. "Admiral Tejo," she said, "we're ready to begin the final assault. All Viridian military assets have been located. We can strike at all of them at the same time." "What about their home worlds?" Tejo asked. "The civilians' intelligence reports say the Viridian civilians want peace. They never wanted this war. It was their military leaders who started it." This made Tejo think humans had been fighting the Viridian Empire for so long. It was easy to forget that not all Viridians were enemies. Some of them might just be scared people who were forced to fight. "General Han, make sure our forces know the difference between soldiers and civilians," Tejo ordered. "We're not conquerors, we're liberators." "Yes, sir." The final assault began across the galaxy. Captain Nam Soyoung led her reality-jumping assault teams to strike at Viridian command centers. Her ships appeared and disappeared so fast that enemy defenses couldn't track them. "Target acquired," she reported from above, Viridian Prime, the enemy capital world. "But Admiral, there's something strange here." "What is it?" Tejo asked. "The Viridian civilians are fighting their own military. They're trying to surrender, but their bioships won't let them." Dr. Quan Therim, who was monitoring the quantum readings, gasped, "Admiral, the Viridian bioships are controlling their pilots. The ships are alive, but they're evil. They're forcing their own people to fight." This changed everything. The Viridians weren't really the enemy. Their ships were. The living biotechnology had become parasites, controlling entire civilizations. "All ships, new orders," Tejo announced. "Target the bioships, not the pilots. If we can free the Viridians from their own ships, they might become our allies." Captain O'Donghayan's indomitable spirit was fighting above the Viridian capital. His probability cannons were powerful enough to erase entire fleets, but he used them carefully. Instead of destroying the bioships, he used the weapons to cut the connection between the ships and their pilots. "It's working," he reported. "When I sever the biolink, the Viridian pilots stop fighting. They're asking for help." Across the galaxy, the same thing was happening. As human forces freed Viridian pilots from their bioships, entire fleets surrendered. The aliens were crying tears of relief. They had been prisoners in their own ships for centuries. "Admiral Bay," came a voice over the radio. It was Commander Zek of the Viridian Third Fleet. His voice was shaking. "Please help us. Our ships have been controlling us for 300 years. We just want to go home to our families." Admiral Bay Sujin, who had suffered in Viridian prisons, felt her anger melt away. These weren't evil conquerors. They were victims too. "Commander Zek," she said, "you're free now. We'll help you get home." The Viridian Empire was falling apart, but not because it was being destroyed. It was being liberated. Species that had been forced to join the Empire were remembering what freedom felt like. But there was still one enemy left, the bioships themselves. Without pilots to control, they became wild and dangerous. They started attacking everything, including each other. "Admiral," said Dr. Yoon, "the bioships are trying to merge into one giant creature. If they succeed, it will be bigger than a planet. And it will be completely insane." "How do we stop it?" Tejo asked. "We need to get close to it. Close enough to use the architect technology at full power. But it's too dangerous. Any ship that gets near it will be absorbed." Captain Jinwoo's voice came over the radio. "Sir, I'll do it. The Phoenix Rising is the fastest ship we have. And the architect technology responds to sacrifice." "Jinwoo, no," Tejo said. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way, sir. And someone has to do it." But then thousands of voices spoke at once. Every pilot from every timeline said the same words. "We'll all do it together." The 50,000 human ships moved as one. They flew toward the growing biomonster that was forming near Viridian Prime. As they got closer, the architect technology in their ships began to sing. It was the most beautiful sound Tejo had ever heard. It was the sound of 50,000 humans who cared more about others than themselves. The sound of people who would sacrifice everything to protect innocent lives. The biomonster tried to fight back. It shot tentacles the size of space stations at the human fleet. But the tentacles passed right through the ships. The human fleet had become something beyond physical matter. They had become pure will and determination. "All ships, fire as one," Tejo ordered. 50,000 probability cannons fired at the same moment. The beams didn't just hit the biomonster, they hit the very idea of evil domination. They erased the concept of forcing others to fight against their will. The biomonster screamed once and then dissolved into nothing. Not destroyed, simply gone, as if it had never existed. The war was over. In the weeks that followed, something amazing happened. The former Viridian species asked to join a new alliance with humanity. They called it the Galactic Federation. Humans would lead it, not because they were the strongest, but because they were the ones who fought for others. Fleet Marshal Kong Tejo, he had been promoted, stood on the bridge of the Last Hope, looking out at a galaxy where humans and aliens worked together. Former enemies were now friends. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were free. Sir, said Admiral Wubin, he had been promoted to, we're getting reports of something new at the edge of the galaxy. Some kind of signal from outside our reality. What kind of signal? Taeho asked. Dr. Yoon. Dosam looked up from her instruments. It's a distress call, sir, from another galaxy. Something is threatening them. Something that makes the bioships look like toys. Taeho smiled. How many ships do we have ready for action? 100,000, sir, said General Han. Human ships and allied ships from dozens of species, and they're all crewed by people who fight for others. Yes, sir. The architect technology only works for species that protect the innocent. Taeho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, people needed help. People who thought no one would come to save them. People who had given up hope. They were wrong. All ships, prepare for departure, Taeho ordered. It looks like the galaxy has a new threat, and we have a new mission. Captain Jinwoo's voice came over the radio, happy and excited. Where are we going? Sir, to help people who need help, Taeho replied. That's what humans do. The 100,000 ships of the Galactic Federation turned toward the edge of known space. They were no longer running from a superior enemy. They were the superior force, not because they had better weapons or bigger ships, but because they had something more powerful than any technology. They had each other, and they had the unbreakable human spirit that said, no one fights alone. No one dies forgotten. No one is beyond help. The universe was about to learn what happened when humanity decided to care about someone. It was going to be beautiful. The signal from beyond the galaxy was getting stronger every day. Fleet Marshal Kong Taeho stood in the command center of the new flagship. The Unity, it was twice the size of the old Last Hope, and carried representatives from 43 different species. The message is clearer now, said Dr. Yoon Dae-Mshae, had gray hair now, but her eyes were still bright with curiosity. It's coming from the Andromeda galaxy. Someone there is asking for help. What kind of help? Asked Admiral Wubin. He was older too, with scars from many battles. But he still had the same brave heart. They're fighting something called the Void Swarm. Dr. Yoon explained. According to their message, it's a force that eats entire galaxies. It turns everything into empty space. General Han Curie looked at the star maps. Andromeda is 2 million light-years away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take months to get there. Then we better get started, Taeho said, but Captain Cho Jinwoo, now an admiral himself, had a different idea. Sir, what if we don't just go to help them? What if we bring them here? What do you mean? Taeho asked. The architect technology can open portals between realities. Maybe it can open portals between galaxies too. Dr. Kwandaram had been working on this problem for weeks. Jinwoo is right. But we need something powerful to create a portal that big. Something that cares deeply about helping others. The whole Federation, said Captain Park Hyejin, all 100,000 ships working together. It was a crazy idea. Open a portal between galaxies using the combined will of 100,000 crews who wanted to help strangers they had never met. But it was exactly the kind of crazy idea that humans were good at. All ships. This is Fleet Marshal Taeho, he announced over the Federation comm system. We have a new mission. People in another galaxy need our help. We're going to bring them here. The response was immediate. Every ship in the Federation volunteered. Humans, former Viridians, the crystal beings from Altair, the peaceful plant people from Vega. All of them wanted to help. The portal opened near Jupiter. It was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever seen. A shimmering tunnel of light that connected to galaxies. Through it came ships unlike anything in the Milky Way. The refugees from Andromeda were strange and wonderful. There were beings made of living music, creatures that looked like floating jellyfish, and robots that had learned to dream. All of them were running from the same enemy, the Void Swarm. Thank you, said Commander Zara, of the Andromedan fleet. She looked like a tall human, but her skin was silver, and her eyes were like stars. We have been fighting alone for so long, we never expected anyone to help us. That's what we do, Taeho said simply. We help people who need help, but the portal brought more than just refugees. It brought knowledge. The Andromedans had been fighting the Void Swarm for 1,000 years. They knew things about it that no one in the Milky Way could imagine. The Void Swarm is not alive, explained Dr. Nex, an Andromedan scientist who looked like a walking tree made of silver metal. It is anti-life. It turns matter back into nothing. Planets, stars, entire solar systems just disappear. How do you fight something like that? Asked Dr. Yoon. You don't fight it. You run from it. That's all anyone has ever been able to do. This made everyone quiet. The Federation had beaten the Viridian Empire. They had turned enemies into friends. But this was different. This was something that couldn't be reasoned with or freed from control. It just wanted to make everything disappear. There must be a way, said Captain Nam Soyoung. She now commanded a fleet of timeline-jumping ships. There's always a way. Dr. Nex's metallic leaves rustled sadly. We thought so too. We lost 30 billion people learning that we were wrong. But then something interesting happened. The architect technology in the human ships began to react to the Andromedan refugees. The ships started glowing brighter. They hummed with new energy. The technology is learning, said Dr. Yun. It's studying it's trying to understand their knowledge. Captain O'Donghayan was running tests on his ship, the Indomitable Spirit. Admiral, something strange is happening. My ship wants to merge with one of the Andromedan vessels. Is that safe? Tejo asked. Probably not, O said with a grin. But when has that stopped us? The merger was amazing to watch. The human ship and the Andromedan ship flowed together like two drops of water. The result was something new, a ship that existed in multiple dimensions at once. A ship that could think with both human determination and Andromedan wisdom. It's working, O reported. The merged ship can do things neither ship could do alone. It can phase into the same dimension as the Void Swarm. This was the breakthrough they needed. The Void Swarm existed partially outside normal reality. That's why normal weapons couldn't hurt it. But ships that were part human and part Andromedan could reach it. How many ships can we merge? Tejo asked. All of them, said Dr. Kwan. The architect technology is making it possible. But we need pilots who can handle the mental strain of existing in multiple dimensions. The answer was obvious. They needed pilots from multiple species working together. Human determination, Andromedan wisdom, former Viridian healing abilities, crystal being precision, and plant people patience, all working as one crew. Admiral Bei Sujin commanded the first fully integrated ship, the Harmony. Her crew had 12 different species all working together. When they flew, they thought with 12 different kinds of minds but shared one goal, protecting innocent people. It's incredible, she reported. We can see the universe the way the Void Swarm sees it. Empty space isn't empty, it's full of potential. The swarm is trying to collapse that potential back to nothing. Can you stop it? Tejo asked. I think so, but we need more ships, a lot more ships. The Federation had 100,000 ships, but they needed 1 million, maybe 10 million. The Void Swarm was the size of an entire galaxy. Fighting it would require the biggest fleet in the history of the universe. How do we get 10 million ships? Asked Wu-Bin. Captain Jinwu smiled. The same way we got 100,000. Wu asked. For help, the call went out across all realities, all timelines, all dimensions, not just to humans, but to every species that had ever wanted to protect others. The response was beyond imagination. Ships came from realities where dinosaurs never died out and learned to fly spaceships. Ships came from timelines where plants became the dominant species and built vessels out of living wood. Ships came from dimensions where music itself had become alive and wanted to help. 10 million ships became 20 million. Then 50 million. Species that had never met before worked together as if they were old friends. All united by one simple idea: nobody should have to face the darkness alone. Fleet Marshal, said Dr. Yunan, the architect technology is doing something new again. It's not just connecting ships anymore. It's connecting entire species across all realities. What does that mean? Tejo asked. It means we're becoming something new. Not human, not Andromedan, not any single species. We're becoming us. All of us together. The Great Fleet assembled at the edge of the galaxy. 50 million ships from countless realities, crewed by beings who had chosen to care about strangers. The Void Swarm was coming, but it would not find helpless victims. It would find the greatest alliance in the history of existence. An alliance built not on fear or conquest, but on the simple human idea that everyone deserves help when they're in trouble. All ships. This is Fleet Marshal Tejo, he announced. The enemy thinks the universe is empty. They think nothing matters. They're about to learn how wrong they are. 50 million voices answered as one. Ready, sir? Then let's go show them what hope looks like. The fleet moved toward the approaching darkness. They carried with them the light of 50 million civilizations who had chosen love over fear, cooperation over competition, hope over despair. The Void Swarm had never faced anything like them. It was about to learn why the universe was not empty at all. It was full of friends,